Good morning, Acadiana. It is voting day, November 3rd, 2020. Time to get out there and get your voice heard out there in the polls at the election booth. If you haven't voted already, everybody stay safe, wear a mask, do all those good things. And thank you for your commitment to being a good citizen for voting today. We are providing you in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate, the local news, the written news, but we are reading it for you. We do that every Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. This is a community service of AOC Community Media, and we are glad to provide that service, but we could not do it without the generous volunteer efforts of our newsreaders. People like Mr. Bruce Cohen, who has already mailed in his ballot. Don't ask him who he voted for because that's none of your business, but he's already done his civic duty, and thanks for that, Bruce.
You're welcome. I've done my civic duty. Yes, I certainly have. Thank you so much, my main man, Matt. They're at the helm of the tech aspect of this morning's broadcast. Like Matt said, we do bring to you local news live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Unfortunately, because of COVID, our readers have been doing it from their home studios like myself for the last, 8 months, Matt? Something like that. Anyways, I'm going to tell you what's going on. If you don't already know, today is Election Day, as Matt stated. And today is November 3rd, 2020. This is a very important historical date in our lives, folks, so please participate. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can find polling locations and sample ballots at Go Vote. That's the Cajun Go, G-E-A-U-X, vote.com. It's an app. You can go there and you can find out the ballot and see who's on the races. And I believe they even have descriptions of the particular individuals who are on the ballot today in the particular races in your area. Not all areas have the same ballots or the same people running, depending if you live in Lafayette or Youngsville, whatever. But take a look at govote.com and you get all the information you need. So before we move on to the voting, who's running in various races today, which is important to know, I'm going to shout out some do's and don'ts with voters by Claire Taylor, staff writer. With record voting turnout expected today, Election Day, a lengthy ballot, and a heated presidential race, voters are reminded of some do's and don'ts before heading to the polls. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday, today. If you're still in line at 8 p.m., though, you will be allowed to vote. Voters must have a photo ID, such as a driver's license or passport. We ask that everyone please wear a mask. Lafayette Parish Clerk of Court Louis Perret said Monday, social distance and respect your neighbors. The ballot in Louisiana is a long one, with races for President, U.S. Senate, and House of Representatives, state constitutional amendments, and locally district attorney, city marshal, district and city judges, and parish tax propositions. Voters should know how they're going to vote in advance because they're limited to 3 minutes in the voting booth. It's not enforced unless there's a line, Perret said, and there's going to be a line. Clothing such as shirts, caps, and masks that advertise a candidate are not allowed, Perret said. Make America Great Again caps are not allowed in the polling places. That, as I understand it, is a trademark slogan on behalf of a political candidate, he said. Black Lives Matter clothing is allowed, he said, because I've been told they have never run for political office. No political activity is allowed within 600 feet of the entrance of a polling place, including campaign signs on public property like roadsides and ditches. Signs are allowed on private property, even if it's next to a polling place. If you see a violation, Perret said, report to the commissioner in charge of the polling place or call the clerks of court's office at 337-291-6400. Again, the clerk of court's office at 337-291-6400. Don't go to Facebook and start a rumor, he said. Even though Louisiana is an open carry state, Perret said guns are not allowed at polling places and schools, which are gun-free zones. Despite problems reported elsewhere with armed residents attempting to intimidate voters, Perret, is the T coming up. Perret said he doesn't anticipate those type of problems in Lafayette. If someone has a weapon at a polling place or at a school, call the police or the clerk of court's office. Again, that number is 337-291-6400. Certainly, we do not expect people with AK-47s to be hanging around polling places tomorrow, he said. So keep all those things in mind. I have personal experience. I've been a Louisiana poll commissioner or commissioner in charge for years, both in the states of California and Louisiana. I know how these run. I was there during the first presidential election with Barack Obama involved. That was a huge day of voting, as I'm expecting today to be as well. There were huge lines at the precinct that I worked at, and it got to be a little confusing at times. So just be patient. Know that your vote is going to count, and wear a mask. Be prepared to be social distanced, and listen to the poll workers there and be kind to them, because they are doing a fantastic job making sure that the election day runs smoothly and as quickly as possible, so we can get in all the right votes into the clerk of court's office so they can count and make sure the count is accurate. So please be a part of that. Okay, moving on, we're going to talk about some races other than the presidential race. Important Lafayette Parish races also on the ballot by Kristen Askelson, staff writer. Much of the focus this election season has been on the hotly contested presidential race between Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. However, there is a full slate of important local and state races for Lafayette Parish voters to decide. The polls again will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. today for those who aren't among the nearly 1 million Louisiana voters and residents who voted early. That turnout shattered the state's early voting record. To avoid a runoff, candidates must rake in more than 50% of the vote. Otherwise, the top two vote getters will face off again on December 5th. Secretary of State Kyle Ardoin traveled to storm-affected areas of the state to meet with local election officials on Monday. He said power has been restored to the vast majority of polling locations after Entergy placed the buildings high on the priority list following Hurricane Zeta. And assessments by the State Fire Marshal's Office and National Guard uncovered little structural damage at the precincts. Our goal was to minimize the number of polling locations we might have to move, Erdogan said. Officials have raced to provide generators, light towers, and other equipment in the days leading up to today's election after Zeta slammed into southeast Louisiana as a Category 2 hurricane, knocking out power to hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses. While southeast Louisiana will retain most of its original polling places, officials have already moved dozens of polling locations in southwest Louisiana to mega precincts at the Burton Coliseum, Lake Charles Civic Center, and other places because of the damage brought by Hurricanes Laura and Delta. Voters can look up polling locations and view a ballot by entering their name, zip code, and birth date at the Secretary of State's office website at a voter portal, that's VOTER, portal.sos.la.gov/home/voter login. Voters can also view a sample ballot by entering their ward and precinct number at www.voteportal.sos.la.gov/S sample -ballot. Here are several important Lafayette Parish races to watch. Lafayette City Marshal. There will be a new marshal in town, replacing Brian Pope, Lafayette's elected city marshal, who was convicted of felony malfeasance in office in October of 2018. Pope intended to run for re-election, but two judges ruled he was ineligible to do so, and last week a judge formally removed him from office. C. Michael Hill, an attorney and former federal magistrate judge, has been serving as interim city marshal since October 2018. 4 men are looking to take over: Nathan Broussard, Kip Judas, Reggie Thomas, and John Trahan Jr. Broussard, 54, was a marshal deputy for more than 20 years. He left in 2014 when Pope took office. Judas, 55, retired after working 30 years at the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office. Since May 2015, he has worked as the Duzon police chief. Thomas, 54, has 30 years of law enforcement experience, including a year as interim Lafayette police chief. Trahan, 54, spent 6 years working at the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office before joining the state police from 1995 until his retirement in August. A new DA in a contentious race, Danny Landry, 64, and Donald Don Landry, 73, no relation, seek to replace Keith Stutz, who decided to retire after serving 1 term, which he won in 2014 by defeating longtime District Attorney Mike Harson. Stutz quit the District Attorney's office after investigating an internal bribery scandal that Harson allegedly was not aware of, then ran and defeated his former boss. Danny Landry is a first assistant district attorney and director of pretrial services under Stutz. Don Landry is a partner of Perrin, Landry, and Delaunay, and has been the city attorney for Broussard for the past 20 years. There's a handful of new judges, with several judges retiring and one moving from district court to city court. There will be some new faces on the bench in Lafayette Parish come January. Jules Edward III, a district court judge, and Michelle Odenet, who returned to work last fall in city court after taking time away to raise 4 children, are vying to replace retiring judge Francie Bouillon, who has held the seat since 1994. Competing for Edwards' seat on the district court bench are Travis Broussard, Sam Flugians, and Valerie Gotch Garrett. Royale Colbert, Amanda Martin, and Wazandra Dua Smith are on the ballot to replace retiring Judge Edward Rubin. Michelle Billiard, Kay Carreg Goutreau, and Glenn Shelley Matron ran to replace Judge Patrick Michaud, who is retiring in the 15th Judicial District Court. George Knox, Donna Renegar, and Susan Theall are competing for family court judge, a seat that has been held by Charlie Fitzgerald since January 2015. Fitzgerald was unopposed in a bid for the 3rd District of the Louisiana Court of Appeal. To find the results, as reported by the Associated Press on the Advocate website, you can find real-time results. If you go to the website, results are also available online through the Secretary of State's office website. And of course, every major network will be doing election coverage this evening. Most start around 8 or 9 p.m. our time because all the poll states, most of the East Coast states, will have by 9 o'clock our time will have been closed for 2 to 3 hours. And so hopefully some of those states and results will be coming in. So just remember the time frame, we're an hour behind the East Coast. So I would think about 9 p.m., 9:30 or earlier, we might be getting some results. So tune in to all the major networks. St. Landry Church arsonist gets a 25-year sentence. Let me just see if there's anything else voting-wise. No, it's mostly. Well, here's one that is Lafayette related. A judge rules against comedian Guillory's lawsuit on fake Antifa events can proceed by Megan Wyatt's staff writer. A district judge ruled Monday morning that a city parish lawsuit can proceed against a comedian responsible for fake Antifa events that prompted a real police response. Lafayette Mayor President Josh Guillory announced in early September that Lafayette Consolidated Government, or LCG, was suing John Merrifield for hoaxes that have cost taxpayers a considerable amount. As law enforcement investigated and responded to each, Merrifield and his attorney filed a motion last month to strike the lawsuit, which they had called frivolous and retaliatory. because they believe that like satirical events are a form of constitutionally protected freedom of speech. City Parish leader and his attorneys have compared Merrifield's fake Antifa Facebook events to shouting fire in a crowded theater, saying the events posted a real threat regardless of the comedian's intentions. Judge Edward B. Broussard of the 50th Judicial District Court agreed with LCG, denying Merrifield's motion to strike the lawsuit during Monday's hearing. Broussard said the city parish government was right to sue the comedian because of an inherent risk of violence that came with the Facebook events, noting that the First Amendment does not protect individuals from unlawful actions. Attorney Andrew Beiser, who is representing Merrifield, said he will appeal the decision. I was surprised by the outcome, Beiser said outside of the courthouse on Monday. I felt that we didn't even have to get into the First Amendment issue to throw the case out. Attorney Michael Adley, who is representing LCG, declined to comment for the story. The lawsuit filed August 31st is seeking an unspecified amount from the comedian for damages of less than $75,000. It alleges that the city parish had to take action to protect residents and businesses even after publicly debunking the Merrifield's Facebook events for fear armed counter-protesters and Antifa-inspired agitators would appear at the scheduled time and place of the events. Antifa, which is short for anti-fascist, is an umbrella description for the far-left-leaning militant groups that resist neo-Nazis and white supremacists at demonstrations and other events. Merrifield's first satirical event, Antifa Takes River Ranch, was created through his Facebook page, KJUUN, that's KAJUUN Mems, on July 4th and scheduled to take place July 11th. Merrifield created another fake event, Antifa Takes the Acadiana Mall, through his meme page on August 26th that was scheduled to take place August 29th. Beiser argued during Monday's hearing that even if people believed the satirical events were real, there was no immediate threat to anyone. He said, unlike shouting fire in a crowded theater, there was plenty of notice before either fake event. Even if you disagree over the First Amendment rights, this was a peaceful rally, Beiser said. There was no call for any action or violence. Law enforcement responded to both events at the scheduled start time and place, although no event or gathering happened at either location. Managers for a River Ranch restaurant in the mall discussed in depositions how their businesses, staff, and customers were affected by the fake Facebook events. City Parish has repeatedly called Merrifield a troll, internet slang for someone who intentionally provokes an emotional rise out of others in an online community in court records. Merrifield also has described himself as a troll in social media posts. Adley again used the term in Monday's hearing, noting that there are no prior Louisiana court cases that have specifically addressed the act of trolling online. Adley pointed to a 2011 Georgia Supreme Court case in which a troll created a YouTube channel called Catch Me Killer and claimed in videos to be the serial killer responsible for 16 missing person cases. The Georgia man was convicted of making false statements in a police investigation, even though his attorneys argued the YouTube video commentary was a protected form of free speech. A knowingly and willfully false statement that is made knowingly and willfully in a matter within a government agency's jurisdiction is a lie that threatens to deceive and thereby harm the government, if only because the government may need to expend time and resources to determine the truth, the Georgia Supreme Court ruling said. Merrifield, a Lafayette native who lives in New York City, did not appear in court on Monday. I'm not surprised by the decision, Merrifield said in a statement after the hearing, and I'm confident the appeal will play out in our favor. Merrifield also noted that local news outlets reported that the events were fake ahead of the scheduled dates and that the mayor president publicly admitted the events were a joke created by a Facebook meme page. The decision to continue with this lawsuit will only serve to make a larger spectacle of LCG's gross misuse of taxpayer dollars that extends beyond this frivolous action and will ultimately shed a national spotlight on the blatant disregard for the First Amendment Merrifield wrote. Beiser said he's planning to take a deposition from Guillory for the case. Pfizer also expects the city parish will again seek a retribution deposition from the comedian's mother as evidence that she believed her son's satirical events were a real threat to Lafayette. LCG's request for the deposition had been stalled because of Mayor Phil's motion to strike. Pfizer said he still feels confident that the case will end in Mayor Phil's favor, despite Monday's ruling in favor of the city parish government. Of course, his disappointment, Pfizer said, we will appeal and we'll see what happens. Okay, and we're going to go to a couple of public service announcements, and we usually do it around this time. A little earlier, usually around 1:15, but I'll read you what's going on. I'll give you a couple of insights to what's going on. First off, the Festo Awards, which always happens the first weekend in November. And it's this week, Friday, November 6th and Saturday, November 7th, and it will all be virtual, as most everything has been this year so far. The Festo Awards celebrates another year with 3 amazing authors and 2 days of memorable events. The festival will take place Friday and Saturday, November 6th and 7th, virtually. This year includes nationally recognized authors, Louisiana poet laureate John Warner Smith, poet Erica Mittner, and graphic memoirist Robin Ha. Festival events include creative writing workshops for students and the community, a community stage for open mic, and drive-by poetry in which youth give dramatic presentations of festival authors' writings. The Friday night event features a poetry presentation by John Warner Smith and Erica Mittner, and Robin Ha reads from her work graphic memoir, Almost American Girl. On Saturday, drive-by poetry performance from the Magnet Academy of Cultural Arts School and other students from the Lafayette area will recite works by the featured authors. There'll be an open mic and multiple creative writing workshops, which are open to the public. For more information, you can check out festivalawards.org, or you can contact Martha Garner at 337-804-2482 or fowmartha@gmail.com. There's also a Facebook page set up under Festo Awards Collective Arts, Festo Awards Arts Collective. Just a full disclosure, I am involved with the Festo Awards, so that's why I am promoting it as much as I can. But go check it out. It's an incredible event. Even this year, we're doing everything that we usually do live. We're doing it virtual, so please check it out. We appreciate it. Okay, request for mosquito control now available through Lafayette 311. Mosquito prevention and safety. Lafayette Consolidated Government, LCG, is increasing mosquito abatement efforts in the parish. An increase in mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event. Citizens noticing an influx of mosquitoes in their area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request service. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. And since this has been a very heavy hurricane season, if you are getting inundated by mosquitoes, please check out the portal so you can have the situation taken care of. Okay, AOC teams up with United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC2, Cox 16, LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For daily schedules and to submit content for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website, unitedwayofacadiana.org/united/learn-united. Let me take a quick sip of my tea here to wet down my vocal cords so they don't get too tight and dry. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Okay, let's get back into our local news live. Let's see, it's 9:24. I'll read one more story before we get into the day in history, the zodiac or horoscope, and the funerals in the Acadiana area today. St. Landry Church arsonist gets 25-year sentence by Katie Gagliano and Julia Gilbo, staff writer and contributing writer. Confessed church arsonist Holden Matthews was sentenced in federal court on Monday, a year and a half after he destroyed 3 historically black churches in Port Barre and Opelousas in a 10-day arson spree in the spring of 2019. Matthews was sentenced to 25 years in prison for 3 counts of international damage to religious property, a hate crime under the 1996 Church Arson Prevention Act, and 1 count of using fire to commit a felony for burning the 3 historically black Baptist churches in March or April of last year, 2019. The maximum sentence for the 4 counts was 70 years, and prosecutors asked for a minimum sentence of 30 years. Judge Robert Summerhays gave Matthews credit for the 18 months served since his arrest, so he'll only serve 23 and a half years of the sentence. The court also ruled Matthews must pay $590,000 and $246 to St. Mary Baptist Church, $970,213.30 to Greater Union Baptist Church, and $1.1 million to Mount Pleasant Baptist Church in restitution. Upon release, he will be required to participate in mental health and substance abuse treatment, register as an arsonist, refrain from possession of drugs, and avoid criminal activity. I cannot, sitting here, overemphasize the seriousness of these crimes. This crime is more than the crime of an arsonist taking away the property of someone else, the judge said. Summerhays said that while the arsons were not considered racially motivated, he had to consider that the fires brought the black congregants back to a dark time of racial discrimination and terror. The judge said Matthews was fortunate he had to also consider his background in the sentencing and not just the impact of the crimes. He said he was sympathetic to Matthews' struggles with belonging and his entanglement in a dangerous undercurrent of the black metal scene, but ultimately Matthews' actions were taken knowingly, and that's black metal is in music, not metalsmithing or blacksmithing. Addressing the court and congregants for the first time, Matthews said he was deeply sorry for his actions and wanted the church communities to know he found his faith in the Lord again. There are not enough words in the English language to say how sorry I am. If I could go back and change it, I would. I not only have hurt my real family and friends, I have hurt my brothers and sisters in Christ, Matthews said. Some of the victims said after the hearing they were skeptical about Matthews' return to Christ after 3 phone calls recorded between Matthews and his parents in the past week were introduced as evidence. The new evidence caused Matthews' initial sentence hearing Friday to be delayed until Monday. Federal prosecutor John Luke Walker said the calls captured Matthews speaking with his parents, referencing the possibility of escaping if he received a long sentence and expressing frustration and displeasure with the testimony of church members on Friday, at one point referring to them as bastards. The phone calls were not played in open court. Walker also referenced a conversation between Matthews and his father, a St. Landry Parish Sheriff's deputy, about the possibility he could be housed in the St. Landry Parish Jail and potentially participate in the trustee program. He argued the call showed Matthews has not accepted the reality of his punishment or actions. The defense will say this in a moment in time a year ago. It's not a moment in time based on these phone calls. He's exactly the same person who burned down those churches, Walker said. Matthews' attorney, Dustin Talbot, pushed back, saying these phone calls were an expression of Matthews' stress and frustration, and that specific references, like the mention of an escape, were jokes not grounded in reality. Talbot said Matthews has been kept in protective custody with only 1 hour per day spent outside his cell, and the calls reflected his attempt to navigate his reality in real time. Matthews said some unkind things in his language, but not always appropriate. But it was a raw interaction as he fully faced the loss of his freedom, the attorney said. Talbot said Matthews has been compliant throughout the legal process and backed the belief that Matthews was turning his life to Christ, as a 23-year-old claimed in his statement. Greater Union member Cheryl Richard and others said they struggle to have faith in Matthews' commitment to Christ and his expression of remorse and self-reflection in light of the phone calls. It's hard to believe that you have transformed, not that God can't make changes because God can do whatever he has the power to do. But to say that you've changed that quickly with these phone calls were made 1 and 2 days prior, which R said, I will never rejoice in anyone's downfall, and I will continue to pray for the young man, and I will continue to pray for his family, she said. Matthews was also slated for sentencing on 3 state hate crime counts, 2 counts of simple arson of a religious building, and a count of aggravated arson of a religious building in Opelousas on Monday afternoon, but that hearing was moved. A staff member for the 27th Judicial District Judge, James Doherty, said the state sentencing has been continued to an unspecified date and time. Investigators matched a charred Scepter gasoline can at the scene of the Mount Pleasant fire, a pack of partially used shop rags, and a lighter found in a truck registered Matthews' father to items Matthews purchased at a local Walmart hours before the first fire in the same area on March 26. Video surveillance footage, eyewitness accounts, and cell phone GPS records placed Matthews in the truck, a gold-colored Ford, at the scene of each fire. Investigators also received photos Matthews took during the fires and days later when he returned to the churches to view the damage, officials said. Matthews superimposed images of himself over the photos, even using some as mock-ups for album art for his black metal band Pagan Carnage. Black metal and Matthews' desire for renown and acceptance among fans of the Scandinavian subgenre were painted at the center of the case. The musical style is associated with church burnings in Norway in the 1990s. Norwegian bass player Varg Vikernes of the band Mayhem, one of the genre's most notorious figures, was arrested and accused of setting the string of church fires as well as killing one of his bandmates. It was noted that Matthews watched Lords of Chaos, a semi-fictionalized biopic detailing Mayhem's criminal acts in the months preceding the fire. Mary Lou Kelly, a clinical psychologist and LSU professor asked to evaluate Matthews by the defense, testified Friday after her assessment of Matthews' struggles with anxiety, depression, and arrested social development. She also noted that he had a history of alcohol and substance abuse, and at one point said he was drunk each time he burned a church. Since middle school, Matthews' mother has encouraged him to pray to cure his anxiety problems, but the lack of answered prayers turned to resentment to God and religion over time. Kelly said Matthews gloomed onto black metal as he rejected his parents' Christian religious background and took on the persona of Vikernes as a means to shed his social struggles. In previous testimony, Louisiana State Fire Marshal Butch Browning said Matthews' bedroom was littered with posters, signs, and memorabilia related to the film. In his federal guilty plea in February, Matthews acknowledged the fires were an attempt to raise his profile as a black metal musician, and he was emboldened by positive feedback to Facebook and social media posts about the church arsons. Okay, it's now a little bit past the half-hour mark, so we will go to our day in history. So today is Tuesday, November 3rd. It's the 308th day of 2020. There are potentially 58 shopping days left in the year. Let me take another sip of tea. Thank you for that break. Today's highlighted history. On November 3rd, 1936, President Franklin D. Roosevelt won a landslide election victory over Republican challenger Alfred Alf Landon. Also on this date in 1911, the Chevrolet Motor Car Company was founded in Detroit by Louis Chevrolet and William C. Durant. The company was acquired by General Motors in 1918. Also on this date in 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson soundly defeated Republican Barry Goldwater to win a White House term in his own right. In 1979, 5 Communist Workers' Party members were killed in a clash with heavily armed Ku Klux Klansmen and neo-Nazis during anti-Klan protests in Greensboro, North Carolina. In 1986, the Iran-Contra affair came to light as Ash-Shirar, a pro-Syrian Lebanese magazine, first broke the story of U.S. arms sales to Iran. In 1992, Democrat Bill Clinton was elected the 42nd President of the United States, defeating President George H.W. Bush. In 1994, Susan Smith of Union, South Carolina, was arrested for joining her two young sons, Michael and Alex, 9 days after claiming the children had been abducted by a black carjacker. In 2004, President George W. Bush claimed a re-election mandate a day after more than 62 million Americans chose him over Democrat John Kerry. Kerry conceded defeat in make-or-break Ohio rather than launch a legal fight reminiscent of the contentious Florida turnout 4 years earlier. In 2017, Army Sergeant Bowie Berdeo, who walked away from his post in Afghanistan and triggered a search that left some of his comrades severely wounded, was spared a prison sentence by a military judge in North Carolina. President Donald Trump blasted the decision as a complete and total disgrace. In 2014, 13 years after the 9/11 terrorist attack, the resurrected World Trade Center opened for business, making an emotional milestone for both New Yorkers and the nation. 10 years ago, President Barack Obama acknowledged that Democrats had taken a shellacking in midterm elections. The Federal Reserve announced a plan to buy its $600 billion in Treasury bonds over the next 8 months in an attempt to boost lending and stimulate the economy. 5 years ago, Ohio voters rejected a ballot proposal that would have legalized both recreational and medical marijuana. Also 5 years ago today, U.S. auto safety regulators fined Japan's Takata Corporation $70 million for concealing evidence for years that its airbags were prone to explode with potentially deadly consequences. 1 year ago, authorities in Southern California lifted all evacuation orders as firefighters made progress on a large blaze that sent thousands fleeing homes and farms northwest of Los Angeles. And today's birthdays, we have former Massachusetts Governor Michael S. Dukakis is 87. Singer Lulu, if some of you probably remember Lulu, she is 72 years old today. Comedian actor Roseanne Barr is 68. Actor Kate Capshaw is 67. Comedian Dennis Miller, 67. Actor Kathy Kinney is 67 as well. Singer Adam Ant is 66 years old today. Sports commentator and former quarterback Phil Simms is 65. Director, screenwriter Gary Ross, 64. Actor Dolph Lundgren, 63. Actor Julie Berman is 37. Actor Antonio Thomas from TV's The Good Doctor is 34. And TV personality Kendall Jenner from TV's Keeping Up with the Kardashians is 25. Looking at the zodiac today at the horoscope, if you're a Scorpio, you should walk away from situations that appear risky and avoid people who are trying to take advantage of you. Think twice before you donate money or get involved in a costly venture. Sagittarius is keep an open dialogue to offbeat accusations of evasive behavior. Don't let a money matter get out of hand. Joint ventures are discouraged. Capricorns, if you say something in haste, you will regret it. You're better off biding your time and listening to others. You may want change, but sound judgment and proper motives are essential. Aquarius, make positive changes at home that will add to your comfort and bring you closer to your loved ones. Put muscle behind your plans. Romance is favorite. Pisces, if you're too quick to react, you will upset someone who you love. Make a change that can help you get back on track or encourage a better way to earn a living. Aries, take a closer look at places you want to visit or courses you wish to take. Expanding your options and adding to your resume will help you find a more rewarding path. Romance is in the stars. Taurus, you'll be offered invalid information from someone you thought trustworthy. Verify what you hear before you pass along anything that will make you look bad. You're only as good as your word. Gemini, your charge and flirting ways will work wonders for you. Keep your promises and avoid giving someone the wrong impression. Make personal improvements, fitness, and health priorities. Cancers, don't get upset over things you cannot change. taking a unique approach to your responsibilities will set you apart from any competition you face. Leos, align yourself reliable people. Be direct and refuse to make a decision or move without verification. Self-improvement is favored. Virgos, my birth sign, offer suggestions but don't force your opinions on others. It's a good bit of advice for today. It's crucial to maintain peace and integrity going forward. If uncertainty sets in, back away, don't mix business with pleasure. And finally, Libra. Learn all you can and look for ways to improve your health, appearance, knowledge, and relationship with others. Distance yourself from individuals who are demanding, excessive, or disruptive. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature, folks, and it's not based on scientific fact. The funerals in the Acadiana area today. Dewey Darion, David Funeral Home of Abbeville at 1 p.m., and Paul Rizzo, Novell Church, 105 Merchants Boulevard, Lafayette, Louisiana, at 1 p.m. Okay, and getting back into our news. Amazon developer buys Baton Rouge area site. Retail giant signs lease for a possible distribution center in Port Allen by Timothy Boone, staff writer. So getting into the state news now. Amazon is set to build a second local distribution center after the online retail giant signed a lease with a developer who bought a 63.3 acre site off LA Highway 415 in Port Allen. Seafried Port Allen 2020 LLC bought the land near the Court Street intersection for $8.15 million in a deal that was filed Friday with the West Baton Rouge Clerk of Court's office. The seller was Priceco West LC of Metairie, Ty Goss and Michael Cassio of NAI Ladder and Bloom brokered the deal. Seafried filed documents with the clerk's office outlining the lease agreement it had with Amazon. The Atlanta-based firm works closely with Amazon. In April, it handled the purchase of a 34.3 acre site on Bethany Church's Interplex campus. That property is now home for Amazon's South Baton Rouge Distribution Center and 111,918 square foot facility that recently opened. While Amazon looks to hire hundreds, excuse me, let me take another sip here. Thank you. At its South Baton Rouge Center, it's not immediately clear how many jobs the new center would support. Amazon did not respond to requests for comment for the story. The Port Allen site is said to be similar to the South Baton Rouge Distribution Center, but larger. According to lease documents, Seafried has taken out a nearly $38.2 million mortgage on the Port Allen land. Building permits put the cost of the Baton Rouge Distribution Center at $22 million. The Lemoyne Company has started dirt work on the Port Allen land. When Baton Rouge Parish President Riley P. Wee Berthelot said Amazon will make a public announcement on the facility within a week or two, but declined to comment further during citing a confidentiality agreement. Amazon typically builds two types of buildings in markets where it seeks to offer faster shipping to customers. One is a fulfillment center and the other is a distribution center, also known as a delivery station. Fulfillment centers feed into regional sort centers and then delivery stations. Fulfillment centers are typically 1 million square foot warehouses with hundreds of employees. Some have robotic assistants for workers to fulfill online orders. There are more than 175 Amazon fulfillment centers across the world, according to its website. Delivery stations are typically smaller in size. In some markets, there is more than one distribution center, which enables the logistics business to deliver products to customers faster than 2-day shipping. Amazon previously operated a 21,000 square foot tent structure on land it leased in 2018 off Airline Highway near the Costco Interstate 12. The company reportedly has a deal to buy property at the former Evangeline Downs site just outside of Karen Crow for a fulfillment center. The company already operates a distribution center in the New Orleans area in Elmwood, where warehouse workers sort packages before delivery. Signs of recovery. Louisiana to see uptick in the rebuilding jobs after multiple hurricanes by Kristen Mossbrucker, staff writer. After 3 hurricanes made landfall in Louisiana over the past few weeks, efforts to recover after the storms may boost the state's otherwise bleak jobs market. Other October unemployment data won't be released until the end of November, but early signs are showing some bump in jobs recovery after the storms, according to the Louisiana Workforce Commission. What generally happens after natural disasters is an uptick in employment, said Ava DeJoy, Secretary of the Louisiana Workforce Commission. We have started seeing the job recovery bumps in Lake Charles, and new October numbers show that. But when you have one storm after another, it doesn't materialize as quickly. Hurricane Zeta made landfall in Louisiana just 3 weeks after Hurricane Delta and roughly 9 weeks after Hurricane Laura. Combined, the storms were estimated to have caused more than $10 billion in damages. There are 120,000 existing unemployment claims across Louisiana as of October 24th, down significantly from its peak of 320,500 claims in early June. Food services and accommodations still leads job losses, with 24,000 in that sector still out of work. About half that figure is out of work in construction. New job losses dropped below 10,000 across the state as of late October, down from its peak of 100,600 in mid-April. While initial unemployment claims were dominated by food services and accommodation job losses for months across Louisiana, for the past few weeks, temporary construction jobs have led the initial claims, likely from utility sector restoration work and building repairs after the storms. Through September, there have been more companies announcing layoffs, such as when the Calcasieu refining said it will lay off 69 employees by the end of the year at the latest, and the Lake Charles Memorial Health System laid off hundreds after the storms. Meanwhile, the Louisiana Workforce Commission has borrowed at least $98 million from the federal government to pay for unemployment benefits and won't begin accruing interest until January. Likewise, the incumbent work and training program, which reimburses mid-sized employees for investing in workers, was not removed as previously proposed. Still, tourism, which is a major economic driver in New Orleans, Lafayette, and Baton Rouge, and Lafayette, is still being affected. Here are some briefs, hurricane-related, from staff from Wire reports. Zeta damages in Louisiana estimated at $2.8 billion. Insurance industry analysis estimates storm damages from Hurricane Zeta in Louisiana could cost between $1.7 billion and $2.8 billion in repairs. Analytics business CoreLogic estimated that when storm damage in Mississippi and Alabama are factored in, Hurricane Zeta caused $3.5 billion in destruction. That includes both residential and commercial losses for wind and storm surge, but does not include any losses reported to the National Flood Insurance Program for homeowners. Hurricane Zeta was the 5th named storm to make landfall and broke the record for the number of named storms during one season, dating back to 2002. Duo turning beads into mask holders. Ex-Lafayette woman, daughter finds success by Megan Wine, staff writer. When Marilyn Guidry retired 2 years ago, she decided to move from Lafayette to New Orleans to spend more time with her daughter, Courtney. Neither one could predict just how much quality time they'd have together this year. It's worked to their advantage, though, because they never would have stumbled into a business opportunity if not quarantined together during the pandemic. We were just sitting here for months watching this whole mess of a virus, said Marilyn Guidry. I felt like I was just being useless, not doing anything to help anybody. It was really disturbing to me. In July, while walking along Magazine Street, the Guidrys came across plastic mask holders similar to the necklaces used to hold eyeglasses. It felt so functional, Marilyn Guidry said. It was a piece of junk, but it felt functional. The mother and daughter decided they could make their own mask holders out of collectible glass Mardi Gras beads they had at home. Courtney Guidry, the crafter of the duo, picked up enough jewelry wire to make one mask holder for each of them. Friends and family immediately started requesting their own, Within a week, local store owners wanted to stock unique mask holders in their shops. We weren't prepared for this, Courtney Guidry said. We didn't have a business plan or anything. We're just making these in our PJs at home in our living room. They quickly came up with a name, Hold That Mask, DAT, D-A-T, New Orleans version of DAT, and commissioned a friend to design a logo for the business. They decided they would get a portion of their proceeds to South Louisiana nonprofits. Hold That Mask quickly gave the mother-daughter duo hope during a time when they felt restless at home but anxious about the novel coronavirus after witnessing their own friends suffering from and even dying from complications of COVID-19. It's allowed us to meet people at a time when people still aren't getting out very much around here, Courtney Guidry said. It's a way to interact with people in a way that we weren't doing since the beginning of March. Courtney Guidry, an educator who works for a nonprofit career center, has worked remotely for most of the year because of the pandemic. With school back in session, she's busier now and often wakes up at 4 a.m. to make the beaded mask holders to keep up with the demand. It's a blur, Courtney said. It's an adrenaline rush, but it's overwhelming too. Everything just expanded through word of mouth, and now we're at a point where we're getting repeat customers who are purchasing these as gifts. Once they get one, they decide to give one to someone else. They're telling us, oh my God, this just makes so much sense. Marilyn Guidry, a retired dental office receptionist, has found joy through her new small business and has tried to share a bit of that with others when she can. The staff at the post office is very short-handed, Marilyn Guidry said. I brought them mask holders. To see them smile when I walk in has meant more to me than any money could. And this time, when everybody is so on edge and so consumed with fear, it brings joy to my heart. That's enough for me. The mask holders cost $15 to $25 and can be found at the following retailers: Koi, that's at 456 Hyman Boulevard, Suite A, Lafayette; Carolyn and Company, 1800 Cully Saloon Road, Suite 100, Lafayette; Louisiana Hot Stuff, 4409 Ambassador Caffrey Parkway, Suite 200, Lafayette; Amelie and Aesthetic Studio, 201 Prescott Boulevard, Suite 103 in Youngsville; Bumble Lane, 7450 Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge, and 14609 Airline Highway, Gonzales; Flutery Girl, all stores in New Orleans, Mandeville, and Bay St. Louis, Mississippi; Fina, 2561 Metairie Road and 3717 Veterans Memorial Boulevard in Metairie; Diane's Boutique, 3427 US 190 Mandeville; and National Medical Center gift shops in multiple locations. To learn more about Hold That Mask, you can go to xmas, that's xmas.ly/hold that mask. That's HOLDDATMASK, Hold That Mask. All right. Let's see. Now we head into our sports stories for the morning. Nothing to worry about. No reason to draw any long-term conclusions from UL's road win over Texas State. Timeout by Kevin Foote, staff writer and sports writer for the Acadian Advocate and the Advocate as a whole. UL football fans have been clamoring for a stellar offensive performance and got that with Levi Lewis and company, putting up 31 first downs and 614 total yards and a 44-34 road win over Texas State on Saturday. On the flip side of things, the offense turned it over 4 times, and the defense was largely responsible for the Cajuns being penalized 11 times for 122 yards. So with that much good and that much bad all in one game, how should Raging Cajun fans process it all heading into Saturday's 11 a.m. homecoming affair with Arkansas State? My best advice is to simply erase the game from your memory. Forget about it, flush it, whatever term you want to use. Way too much of what happened in that game falls under the aberration category to really include it in any in-depth analysis of the season. After not losing any fumbles over the last 5 games, the Cajuns lost 3 fumbles against the worst defense they played all season. There's no reason to believe UL is suddenly a fumbling machine. So until further notice, don't even give it a second thought. The Cajuns were only flagged 24 times in the first 5 games, and then got 11 on Saturday. Alarmed? Nope. There's no reason to believe UL is suddenly this out of control, undisciplined team. Don't even think about it. Likewise, don't expect all the offensive issues have been solved. While I wouldn't totally erase the notion the offense has turned the corner, let's have the Cajuns offense do it again before any declarations are made. Remember, Texas State entered the game giving up 34.6 points and 362.3 yards per game. It's now 55 by my clock, which means that our audio portion of the TV stations is discontinued for the morning. But I have a little bit more sports stories to read and to wrap up the news. So you can still continue to listen at our online streaming service, which is Cypress Street Radio, CYPRESS Street Radio. Go to that, put that in your browser, go to the homepage, click on play. Or you can go to our YouTube station, which is AOC Community Media, to continue listening to the news. And we're in our sports section right now. Okay, so remember Texas State. With that said, Arkansas State's defensive numbers are even worse on paper, giving us 40.2 points and 544 total yards a game thus far. For the record, the two defenses after the Red Wolves have lower numbers, Central Arkansas and South Alabama. The offense should continue to get better, but it's difficult to accurately judge based on the opposition, so let's stay tuned on that subject for now. Besides getting to the win to improve to 5-1 overall and 3-1 Sun Belt play, the biggest benefit from Saturday's game is for the coaching staff. Coaches love having things to work on and scream about. It keeps players humble and makes practices lively. And as Coach Billy Napier said Saturday, he has an extra long list this week. In addition to the turnovers and penalties, there's the kicking game. The two kickoff returns for touchdowns were great, and we needed to kickstart the game against two top-notch defenses. But that doesn't mean Chris Smith needs to bring every kickoff out of the end zone forevermore. When your offense is two steps ahead of the defense, the risk just isn't worth the reward. Just take it on the 25 and call the next play. Having those conversations and practice this week can only help down the road. Saturday was also an opportunity to win the time of possession battle for a change, 33 minutes and 6 seconds to 26 minutes and 54 seconds. Napier has been warning critics that Warren was going to turn in the long run after playing two triple option squads in Georgia Southern and Coastal Carolina. So far, his point is well taken. The bottom line is the Cajuns are hoping to be peaking at the right time come December, theoretically with the Sun Belt Conference Championship on the line. To do so, some obstacles along the way, like Saturday's series of miscues, are exactly what a team needs to stay sharp. Really, I think everybody's sitting around thinking about how good we can be when we don't give the other team anything, Napier said. I'm excited because I think the players would agree with us. We've got higher expectations than we performed at certain times last Saturday, providing all the focus and motivation any team needs. Go Cajuns. Acadiana volleyball powers earn high C's. Turling's Catholic, SCMs are numbers 1 and 2 in their Division II. Others also have little hopes by Spencer Urquhart and Mike Kopich, contributing writers. And Spencer, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name incorrectly, Urquhart. And in a crazy year with several sports have seen their schedules altered by COVID-19, the LHS AA volleyball playoffs are scheduled for their usual time. Playoffs begin this week, and several Acadiana area teams have a shot at the Pontchartrain Center in Kenner, with 12 area teams earning a top 10 seed in their division. Altogether, 24 Acadiana teams made the playoffs. Area coaches appear optimistic about their team's chances to make postseason runs. Turling's SCM on top again. The bar has been set so high for Turling's and St. Thomas More that anything short of a trip to the Division II state title game would be a disappointment. Both teams enter as the top seeds in Division II. The Rebels are number 1 and the Cougars are number 2, and they both have been playing some of the best volleyball down the stretch. The Rebels will be going for their 8th straight state title under Coach Terry Abear, and have a strong core once again led by senior outside hitter Cecilia Hidalgo. It's going to be a tight race between us and St. Thomas More, Abe said. We placed two good quality opponents to close the regular season in Notre Dame and Acadiana. We've gone back and forth with STM, with both of us being seeded number one at times. The Cougars appear to be the Rebels' biggest threat, and they are led by senior setter Bailey Toops. I'm feeling really good, Cougars coach Jessica Burke said. I'm happy with where the team is at right now. I couldn't be happier with the way we're playing. This is one of our better case scenarios as far as seeding, so we're grateful for the opportunity. We'll have to execute no matter the seed, but it's definitely a blessing. We'll go as far as Bailey and Toops will take us. Potential challenges of the Rebels and Cougars appears to be the number 3 seed, Academy of Lady. I haven't seen Academy of Lady, Aber said. They're 23-0, but from what I understand, they haven't played a tough schedule. The depth of the schedule doesn't look as strong as ours or St. Thomas More. If we do what we need to do and STM does what they need to do, we're probably going to see them in the finals. That would be fun to face Turlings. They're a solid team with a lot of weapons. No matter what, it would be a good game. But we have a lot of good games before that. Okay, well, that about wraps it up. It's 10:01, so it's a little bit past our 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. broadcast. I appreciate you sticking in with me this morning. We offer this service to our listeners out there who are visually impaired, and also to our listeners in the Acadiana community who don't have access to a newspaper or the news cycle. This is brought to you by the AOC and in collaboration with the Acadiana Advocate. Again, we appreciate you tuning in. Again, today is a voting day, if you're not aware of it. I'm sure you are. So if you're over 18 and registered to vote, please go to the polls and vote. It's very, very important that we always exercise our right as American citizens. It's our one great right that we have. So please go out to the polls and vote. And when you do, be safe, be healthy, be smart, wear your mask, provide social distancing from others you don't know, and just be kind and thoughtful to the poll workers who are doing the best they can under very incredible circumstances, considering this election day will be full of people going out to the polls. Just do your best. Please stay patient, be kind. This is a very important day in our election history. So please just be kind out there. And as always, this is Bruce Cohen. We'll always be Bruce Cohen. Be kind and have a good day, and we'll see you on the flip-flop.